this time. Some classic performances that will appeal to party animals everywhere.
Hello everyone and welcome to another another match of Jet Set Radio Future Bingo Season 4. As always, I'm your pre-recorded announcer, Acebats OS, printing Change the Future, my final message, goodbye, since January 2022. Today in the brown corner we have the ancient bingo monk that occasionally comes down from the mountain to grace us with new tech. It's Crabbi, going up against the player described as one of the bingo players of time. It's Acebats. Can Acebats do the impossible and beat Crabbi, or will anything in Kogane show up on the board? If I knew, I would rig the boards. To commentate Acebats' final match of Round Robin, the duo that saw television with a broken volume knob on sale and couldn't turn it down, it's Eclapricious and Nago.
Hey, it's us. Welcome back to JSRF Bingo for the final week of the Round Robin, actually. Yeah, it's all including here and now. Hey, Nago. Hi.
What's up?
Bingo.
Yo, bingo? Holy shit, I can't believe it. I can't wait. I can't wait to watch bingo.
Bingo here on JSRF Bingo on Twitch TV. And Crabbi versus Acebats. This is such a... The state of the European Round Robin now is kind of crazy because Crabbi, I believe, is locked in first. Meaning he will be going through into playoffs, gets the buy-in to semi-finals. But the result of this match could still change a lot of other things because yourself, Acebats, and Nay have not locked a playoff spot yet. So depending on the result of this game and then your match against Nay later on this week, any two of you three could still go through into playoffs, and we could have some crazy shenanigans, technically. But yeah, we have Crabbi versus Acebats, and we are just waiting for Acebats before we get started. How are you today?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. I slept terribly, but luckily this match was not at, I don't know, noon or 11 or whenever the Crabbi Nay game was, so I'm fine. I've woken up, had my tea, I'm ready to watch this game, the battle for not the European Union, I guess.
Yeah.
Battle for the North Sea. That's what I
Battle
wanted
for the
it to
North Sea.
Yeah, that's
Sure.
what it was.
Yeah, that works. Yeah. So Crabbi is Crabbi, and obviously we have a lot of respect for Crabbi in the way that he plays the game. Acebats is just continually this unknown entity when it comes to bingo, because he's had some of these moments in some of his games where he's looked like really, really solid in terms of like his strategy and his approach to the game. And I mean, prior to the match, we were talking a lot about ways to win bingo. There's an element of execution and there's an element of strategy that comes into it. And in terms of execution, Crabbi is one of our foremost players, but there is a strategy that can be done. There are ways to beat him in terms of like thinking about the game, and I'm curious to see what Acebats can pick up.
Yeah, definitely. I'm very curious to see, because especially because Crabbi didn't really get contested too much in the group stage. Like, I vaguely played okay against him in game 1. I feel like that was probably the closest game he's played. It's like his games against Kev wasn't very close, and then his game against Nay was also not very close. I don't actually remember much about Crabbi Nay.
It kind of just... I think it was closer. I think it was one of Nay's better games of the round robin. But yeah, I think you're right in that Crabbi has yet to really... outside of small, like, single game instances, I think he's really not had to struggle too much. And there's always an element when it comes into the bingo tournament of players warming up as they go. And I think Nay has been a good example of that, and I think maybe even Acebats would be a good example of the more games you play in the tournament setting, the more comfortable you feel. But kind of Crabbi is very consistent in the level that he plays. Like, he started strong, and he's consistently remained at that level, and I'm just curious to see if other players are going to be catching up as we move further into the tournament. And obviously we do get to see cross-region play when we go into the playoffs, so there's a chance that we'll see Crabbi playing against some of the North American players, which would be really exciting, because that's been a pretty highly competitive bracket as well. I think we're ready. So let's get a look at the first board.
Ooh, that is I'm looking at row 4. That's a lot of that's all dark side.
There is, yeah.
There's some things on this board. There's also like top left, bottom right. There's also bottom left, top right, both diagonals. And then Dogen graffiti, only graffiti on this board. This is a scary board for Acebats, I'd say. This is like, there's a lot of the souls on this board are really fast. And a lot of these bingos, like a lot of the good bingos are like very stacked in one area and relatively fast souls.
Yeah, I see Dark Side looks ridiculous, right? You pointed out the row 4, and then you look at, there's 299th souls on row 2 with SDPP there as well. But honestly, like, the other areas don't necessarily look too bad. Like, what little there is in Shibuya is 2 defaults in Dogen Graffiti, and Shibuya Grind. right? That's pretty quick stuff. And then there are some good defaults in Kogane as well. So I'm really curious to see as we get started who goes where. So it's going to be Acebats heading out to the dark side, and I'm curious to see. Yep, Crabby's doing the same, so it looks like the two of them will be going head to head.
Oh, the Crabby stream delay. Did he start late, or does he have stream delay? Or like
I think it's stream
that was
delay.
Because that was 10 seconds. This is going to be hard to tell what people are going to go for. Acebats going to go for 99 stuff.
Yeah, so in 99 we have Dark Wall Ride as the default, which Crabby's going to get to first, despite the stream delay. So yeah, they actually went right head-to-head, reading the board the same way. There's so much stuff in Darkside, I was curious to see if they split up and traded, and now there are still stuff in 99th, but I think the defaults take priority here. No, Crabby's actually going to go for this. I quite like this, because though Darkside looks strong, what if you just go for row 2, you know? Oh, he picks up the tape and leaves. Okay, now that's also smart. Picking up the tricks and grind on the way out could work.
There's definitely like a lot of tactical souls you can pick up, and I very much like the way that Crabbi decided to go and get the tape, get the grind, like unlock grind, and then leave, since it leads into the diagonal. And Crabby's like, well, if I pick up Trash Pit, then maybe I can get the diagonal. But I think he just realized that there's actually no world where he gets that because he got sniped to the entrance pillar. So he's gonna get grind and probably cut his losses, go somewhere else, because like he has to feed these Highway Zero souls and maybe even this Sky Dino stuff to Acebats, who misses the out of bounds.
Sad. So sad.
Very sad. You hate to see it.
Yeah, this is a really interesting read on the board from both players. Very much kind of adapting to what their opponent is doing in the moment. And Crabbi just taking grind, and looks like he's leaving, actually, unless he's already unlocked bricks. No, it doesn't look like it. He is just leaving Kogane, which means Bats does get the center square, Highway Zero, Trash Pit, 2 more souls, and then the Sky Dino on the board as well, which is pretty strong in terms of board control. Yeah. Crabby's now out to Kogane, where we're looking at bottom point default. We've got some stuff in sewers, points and grind on the column 4. RDH Sauna is the default on that column 4 as well. Center Structure is the default on row 5. Yeah, honestly, I think Kogane is kind of a surprisingly powerful zone here, with just kind of off the bat looking at how good Ben 10 actually is. But Crabbi, by taking that Dark Wall Ride, denies the potential 5 Benton row 4.
Yeah.
So kind of in the Daft-esque style, denying the opponent's bingo setups with the least possible squares and time committed, which I really like.
Yeah, I'm kind of it seems like like Crabbi recognizing that like he has to go Kogane so he doesn't get diagonaled on by Acebats, and then Acebats recognizing like, oh well, he has to lead into Kogane, so I guess I'll just go and enjoy a lead into Dogen, actually foregoing picking up Right of Street so that Crabbi doesn't actually know where he's at yet. I kind of like that play because it allows him to just get Dogen and like kind of make Crabbi fly blind, which is kind of good. Like often this can work out pretty well since your opponent just like, especially like Crabbi is definitely somebody who likes like playing very reactively and like making quick snap decisions based on the squares your opponent picks, and like if he doesn't have information, like he has to just like kind of gamble on one option, and that can often just like, you know, ruin I mean, it can ruin Crabbi, but it can ruin everybody. Like just like when you don't have any information on your opponent, you panic so much because like every option is suddenly open, and you somehow always catastrophize and assume that your opponent's doing like the perfect play. So
yeah,
I like it.
Yeah, this is something I think I've seen from Acebats and also from Ryomi, which is kind of just denying information, and sometimes it looks like suboptimal play. You know, sometimes it looks like, well, why didn't you go for Right of Street? It's right there on the board. But withholding information from your opponents and forcing them to make decisions without full information like you said, yeah, it can bleed into their decision making as well.
So let's see. So Acebats, ooh, he's not gonna go for isolated platform. Oh, he's gonna get the cans and then do the spray and then maybe go for isolated platform, because it's like it's row 3, but it's also just generally like points, and I think you do want to get the points from that square. Maybe? Yeah, it is. Now now he's revealed.
The difference between Right of Street and this one is the amount of time you would have to put into getting back to this one. Right of Street is just kind of right there when you need to grab it. So he does now reveal in Dogen, but he will be finished off the graffiti route before too long. This also puts him pretty comfortably even in the game in terms of points. 7 for Crabbi right now, and back finishing off this graffiti route in the next 30 seconds or so will put him at 7 points as well. Crabbi has been cleaning house in Kogane though, getting some pretty strong board control for it.
Yeah, this is kind of scary.
The row 4.
Yeah, the row 4 or the column 4 bingo is definitely on the board. Potentially, depending on how Acebats wants to play this, he could try and rush for either Kibo upper platform or catwalk near cube, depending on what he thinks Crabbi does. Kind of depends, because Crabbi could either go for his bingo and go into Kibo, or yeah, go for bottom point. And thinking about the timings, I think regardless of the decision, I think Acebats could counter with the other. Obviously, I think if you're Crabbi, you want to go Kibo, because like Acebats has the longer bingo, so he just gets catwalk near cube and then has to rush to Sky Dino and then like finishes Dogen at some point. That's what Crabbi's doing.
Does Acebats stick to his plan here and work on the column 3 to trade bingos? With the graffiti, that puts him in a pretty comfortable spot. Having a stall on.
Hit it.
Always exciting.
Scary. Ooh, okay.
Well, it worked.
It was a bit of a scary one. Things can definitely go wrong here in this position, but so let's see what Acebats thinks. So I feel like the safest and I guess the most logical play for Crabbi is to just go for the bingo, and Acebats going for catwalk near cube. Yeah, that's what he's going. All right, so yeah, they're just gonna
Worth noting that Acebats hasn't marked Dogen graffiti.
No, he didn't finish.
So he didn't finish the route complete, which is, I think maybe he's just making sure that Crabbi can't deny this bingo right now. Like, letting Crabbi complete his own bingo gives Acebats the time to get into bottom point, secure this soul, and then maybe go to Sky Dino and bait Crabbi, you know?
Yeah,
Crabbi knows that he was at least in Dogen, so he can probably assume that Bats has partial sprayed it, but hasn't completed the route. Either way, again, it's kind of like withholding full information from Crabbi and forcing him to make decisions and change his route based on incomplete information. And yeah, this counter bingo is very, very important for Bats. And he's way, way ahead to Dogen Graffiti. So now it's a matter of, does Crabbi read this and go to Sky Dino? But Bats is now leaving bottom point, slightly behind Crabbi. And if Crabbi can get out to Sky Dino... Okay, so an extra point there picked up for Bats. I think Crabbi just gets into Sky Dino and denies this, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's a really... it's unfortunate. It didn't quite line up fully going for Dogen Graffiti. He did need... Unfortunately, he needed to like get something in Kogane and then maybe go for Dogen Graffiti. Because yeah, like now he's just kind of like putting out fires basically. But Crabbi's actually going into Dogen, maybe just to get right of street and then maybe leave. I am a bit unsure exactly actually what the play here is from Crabbi. See when stream delay catches up what he does. Sides. Commit for Dogen Graffiti? Alright.
Really take this bait?
I mean, depends on what Acebats wants to do, but I guess Acebats is kind of like... Oh, wait. It's going to Shibuya?
He's just looking to get points elsewhere, I think. What is there? There's nothing here. Like, there's Shibuya grind. Is it really worth this commitment of time?
Bit scary, because like Acebats is probably gonna go to Sky. Oh no, he's gonna finish Dino Graffiti or Dogen Graffiti. Sure, I mean it's not. Doesn't take very long. Maybe he's just like. I think Acebats is just like, oh well, I'm gonna get sniped. Like he's probably in Sky Dino already. There's no reason for me to think otherwise, which I think is a fair mentality to have. Crabby's gonna mark grind 10 here, and Acebats is gonna be slightly confused as to what he's supposed to do now.
Yeah, this was a strange play from Crabbi, but he still has the advantage if he now goes to Sky Dino. So I'm not sure what the logic here was for Crabbi. But regardless, he should still be able to go out to Sky Dino and deny this bingo for Bats. So with Bats locking in the Dogen Graffiti, I'll put him at a total of 9 points. Which I think Crabbi just kind of wins this game on points if Bats loses this bingo. This is rough.
Guess so, though Crabby's falling down to go get tricks. I'm not sure if he has the time really to go for a tricks errand, but then again, it is only going to be 14 points for Acebats, so I guess Crabbi maybe just like trying to play for the win condition and seeing if he can just like get other squares, squeeze those in, and then just get like a free, you know, like not a free win, what's the word I'm looking for? Like just like beat him even when giving up the bingo, but it's still a little scary.
I think what we're seeing from Crabbi here is he's playing once again, and this is a tendency of Crabbi, he's playing very respectfully of his opponent, and kind of like what you said, assuming that Bats is going for the optimal play at all times, and saying, okay, Bats should technically get this bingo. I need to get points elsewhere if I still want to win this game. So Crabbi, I think, is playing maybe overly safe and overthinking a little bit, but now we're going to have the two heading into Sky Dino for this default soul that has lasted so long on this map. Crabbi slightly ahead because of stream delay. And, well, it all comes down to execution.
Yeah, this is definitely, it's scary though, because stream delay means that Crabbi does have a decent lead. Basically gonna go down to, or come down to, if Crabbi messes up or maybe decides to go for the tape as well.
That would be very...
It would be very cool. It would also be really risky for not a lot of payoff. But he gets it. He does get it. He blocks it, and that's 17 points. And that's going to be the win for Crabbi. Pretty close game, all things considered. It came down to just like a relatively like tight timing for Acebats to barely just not be able to contest that call for bingo. But Crabbi does close it out. It's gonna be
this was an interesting map. I liked the way that this one played out in a lot of ways. Again, it did feel a little bit like Crabbi was overthinking things. He could have maybe gone for the kill a little bit earlier, but nonetheless, I think it was pretty solid strategy from Bats, working on his own objectives and withholding information from Crabbi. So we've got a game 2 on our hands. Let's see. We got a new board.
New board.
Players are ready.
Highway Zero Graffiti. Favorite.
Hell yeah. Now, if I was playing right now, I would be going to Highway Zero.
That would be a terrible decision.
It would be a terrible decision.
That's why you're not playing.
So we do have the Highway Zero Graffiti. We also have Kibo Graffiti. Bats finally gets his Kogane Square. Kibo default as well, and under tower and upper platform on the same row. With RDH Graffiti, Shibuya Tricks, it was special. It's not like the fastest fastest bingo ever, but I don't think it sucks.
I like going for the bingos that have one really long square on it, purely because That means you get to like play games with your opponent about like, oh,
Yeah.
am I gonna get this square, or are you gonna have to get it in the late game and then I win? You know?
Yeah, the classic baiting your opponent into sewer special.
Aha! What do you like? Yeah, it's actually very nice.
But yeah, this is a pretty nice Kogane board. We got the bottom point catwalk near cube default is back. And then there's 2 Kibo defaults, Kibo RDH graffiti. We got 3 cubbies on row 5, by the way. Hikage, Chiyo, and Shibuya, along with Hikage grind, but the Highway Zero tricks kind of makes that less appealing initially, but then given that Highway Zero graffiti is on the map, maybe row 5 is not bad. But
Yeah, well, they both go Shibuya.
players
Here
to
goes
Shibuya.
Boost's bus jump. Oh, Acebats
That's not
does
going
not
for
go
it.
for Boost's bus jump. Does Crabbi go for it? No, he does not.
They faked each other out. Well, there's so much that you could go for off of the bat here in Shibuya Cho. Both of them kind of trying to one-up the opponent and saying, okay, if you go for Cubby, I'll get something else that's also high priority, and neither of them went for Cubby. But it looks like it will be tricks in Shibuya for Crabbi, as Acebats picks up his first square with Hikage Cubby. Is there anything else in Hikage? I don't think so. And even if there was, it wouldn't be particularly fast. So what's
Crabbi
next
picking
for
up
that?
platform by accident on his way to tricks.
Slow him
this
down
is-
slightly.
Oh, it became a Cubby race. That's so funny how that worked out. Basically, because of the way the timings worked out, it ended up being like Acebats kind of grinding towards Cubby, being like, do I get a chance to pick up Cubby? No? Oh.
Yeah, I don't necessarily hate that, though, from Bats. Like, going for Hikage Cubby instead, and then just saying, hey, you know what? If it's still on the board on my way back, I can pick up Shibuya Cubby. But it means he gets into Dogen ahead here. And it looks like, actually, Crabby's not even going for it. So it's going to be Dogen Special on the board, as well as the Pass Statue. Center Square is powerful, and it's a quick default, so I like this move from Bats. It does mean Crabby's out to Kogane ahead. But I think that might be a worthwhile trade for Bats in terms of just getting that board control that the center square offers him. So Crabby's going to go for RDH points, another quick return on investment here. And then likely he's going to head deeper into Kogane. I think one issue I'm seeing a little bit in Bats' game in the last game and now is his time management is slightly lacking, I think. It creates windows of opportunity for Crabbi to do more than he might necessarily be able to do. So like, Dogen Pass Statue center square control is good, but see how much later Bats gets into Kogane. I think maybe he could have shifted up the order of operations here and gone for Pass Statue first into whatever was left in Shibuya.
Yeah, I don't know. Acebats now has to deal with row 2, which is the bingo we pointed out is the worst thing ever.
Yeah.
Because now, yeah, Acebats is going to go to Kibo, probably hoping that Crabbi maybe misses the stall launch, and then he gets the stall launch. Crabbi nails it, falls, yeah, holds right, fully falls into under tower stuff. Then Acebats
It's so cool
now
to
has
see
race.
all these variants of the
Hit
Soul
Kibo
launch.
Mega. If he gets Kibo Mega, he can still beat Crabbi to this. We'll see. Here we go. That's 5 kisses, or it might have been 4, so that's not good enough. He gets another attempt, and this is, I think he can still make up his like deficit, but he might just elect to leave.
Yeah,
at this point.
he has the opportunity to deny this bingo with RDH Graffiti or Sewer Special. And technically, the RDH Graffiti sets him up for column 1, which doesn't suck. It's RDH Graffiti into 3 Benton squares.
Oh, he's gonna go for Sewer? He's gonna get grind 10?
Picking up the tape.
Guess he could like try and set up for like a counter bingo. Like that's not the worst thing either.
What are his options for bingos? He's literally just row 3, right?
He has row 3 and he has column 1 still. And he has the
Row 3 and column
diagonal
1.
as well.
FRZ
Well,
default,
the
and
diagonal's
again,
gonna get no, the diagonal. Yeah.
yeah, I've mentioned it previously, and in terms of like time management here, I feel like going for this default in FRZ may put him behind the pace if Crabbi just chooses to go for this row 2 bingo, because RDH Graffiti blocks the potential column 1, which means Bats is locked into trying this row 3. But Crabbi has kind of the priority now to take whatever he wants to deny that. It's Sewer's Grind or it's bottom point Catwalk or the FRZ default. And Bats going super deep into FRZ to pick up this default means he's going to kind of be behind the pace. He does pick it up, but it doesn't do really anything for him as soon as Crabbi picks up one of these 2 squares.
Crabbi's going for Sewers. That Acebats picking up the tape, going to FRZ is not really going to work out because, yeah, Crabbi's going to get Sewer, or it's going to get Grind 10. Probably going to go and at least unlock 100 meter room soul as well. Yep, nails it perfectly. So Acebats has to probably go do RDH Graffiti and then maybe hope that, oh no, he's turning back, and he's not turning back. Alright, so I think he's decided that he's going to go for RDH.
Crabbi's just so fucking cool.
So the good thing for Acebats at least is that because he got center square and that like he did pick up that one FRZ square, he does have like some time to start working on like RDH Graffiti and stuff. It just means that this is going to be like, he unfortunately is now in an execution battle where basically he needs to pick up like, finish RDH Graffiti as fast as possible, maybe even figure out like the timing between Crabbi going for what he wants to get, and then I don't know, just like he needs to, it's going to be a very tight match for Ace. Luckily, Crabbi does actually just go straight for unlocking, or like picking up special and not just leaving and picking it up later.
Yeah,
he does give Acebats a bit more.
Crabbi does have the board control right now, so pretty much anything that he's picking up is still working towards his win conditions. Like even if he does lose out on this row 2, Sewer Special works towards potential column 5. You know, he's picked up 2 in column 2. And at this point, Bats has only the column 1 or a potential row 1 to work towards. Crabbi has really kind of pigeonholed Bats into a corner here. Like the options that he has are way fewer than what Crabbi has, so Crabbi is pretty much able to do whatever he wants to do. He kind of won the previous game in a similar manner of just using his time more effectively and just picking up more points.
We'll see how it exactly works out. I feel like Smash might also, depending on how Acebats wants to play it, the way I see it, this board, or this might also turn into a weird, like, I have done the first half of RDH and I will now leave and start doing Highway Zero Graffiti or something like absolutely obnoxious like that.
Against Crabbi, I feel like that can work.
It definitely work. I just think this is kind of a position where, did he spray the meaty or the large? Did he skip the large? I hope he did not. Otherwise, this might be
the up dog
thing ever. But like, it could definitely work against Crabbi, because I don't think Crabbi would be like inclined to try and, okay, he did not get the large, dropping down for that as well. Seen it, that's good. But like,
to climb up the water tower again, though.
Crabbi gonna go for speed? Oh, okay. For a second, he did a weird jump there, and I was like, Crabbi really just going for it? Because probably gonna, like, he's gonna get one of the squares, row or column 4. He's gonna get one of them, and Acebats is gonna have to get the other. That is not great for Acebats to deal with. So yeah, now he's finished all of the top side graffiti, so now he has to either just commit for the rest of it, or he needs to, like, I don't know, go for Kage grind 10 or 20 or something. It's a very weird position that you can't really, like, it's hard to, like, theory craft in the moment, like, yeah, this is obviously the optimal play, you know? So I don't blame him for just deciding to commit for this graffiti and not doing any of the weird maniac strats that I'm currently suggesting.
Yeah, I mean, you can see Crabbi again has played very respectfully of Bats and understands, given where Bats has been so far this game, that he's likely working on RDH Graffiti, which gives Bats that window of, I can dip on RDH Graffiti and get some other stuff on the board and still be ahead to it without risking losing this bingo. But this is just in desperate need of points and board control right now. And I don't think he really ever gets board control from this position, but he needs points. So he needs to finish this Graffiti. I'll bring him up to 6. And also deny that bingo. But now with 99th Air locked in for Crabbi and Center of Dark, no bingos left available for Bats. It's got to be a Graffiti game, I feel, for Acebats if he wants to bring this one back.
Definitely, but Crabbi starting on Highway 0 Graffiti, the way that the kind of worked out, don't know if Bats can really like do much. He's basically going to be done with RDH Graffiti, and then Crabbi's going to be done like almost immediately afterwards. So then he wants to try and get Grind 20 to block that bingo. He needs to get something to block column 2 and column 5 or sorry, not, he doesn't. He has to get something in, yeah, he has to get something for column 2 and for column 5. Luckily, there are 2 Chuo squares he could get, Cubby and Grind 10. He could also get Catwalk near Cuban effort points, but I think the Chuo squares are a bit faster.
He's probably going to go for 70 tricks while also spraying the Graffiti. I think he is. He's so cool.
That's the strat. That's what you got to do. I mean, it's not that hard, really. The biggest thing that's just annoying is building up speed, like make your combo. Besides that, it's not that hard. It just is actually really slow. It's actually really annoying, like execute probably because it's so obnoxiously slow.
Yeah, he should be unlocking it on this next pipe here.
Yeah, there.
Yeah, gets it in the air. Yep, works out nicely for Crabbi. Wants cans.
He won't. Yeah, he's definitely not been doing too good on the management front here, but luckily these wall reds have like all the cans in the world, so it should be fine.
Yeah. So we'll be finishing off this Graffiti route and picking up the soul here in Highway 0. That'll put him very, very comfortably ahead of Bats. And now we see Bats has returned to FRZ. Points is on the board, and that's kind of just about it. I imagine we're going to see him then just commit to Kibo Graffiti, right? It's his only other option at this point. Looks like Crabbi needs 3 more points to win somewhere. With Jazz on the board, floating pink half pipes, means he, and SDPP grind, he can win the game just here in Benton.
Yep. It's unfortunate. I think.
Yeah, Bats had some interesting ideas in this game and in this match.
I think it's just I think it's just kind of a different version of what happened last game, where like kind of was like, all right, well, I'm gonna get some decent like board position squares, and then I will like put out fires when they like happen. But unfortunately, like the timing just didn't quite work out, and instead of putting out a fire, he has to put out like 5 fires at once.
Yeah.
Because usually when you want to do something like this is where you see that like one big square, like one square can block like, multiple bingos or something. And in this position, like, well, let's Crabbi get a bunch of Kogane stuff. Or rather, he barely wasn't able to get those Kibo squares. And those Kibo squares were really, like, those Kibo squares allowed for him to threaten row 2, column 2, and column 4. And then Crabbi went for, got Cubby and got Sewer Special, so he also had to, like, he also been vaguely threatening column 5. So, like, if Acebats just, the timing works out for Acebats that he can get one of those Kibo squares. Like, if he hits Kibo Mega and gets upper platform at end, the dynamic of this game goes from Acebats is in a losing position the entire time to, well, as long as he gets, like, effort, like gets both the effort Z default or something, or like gets points or to a Cubby, or gets I think Center of Dark was still available at the time, like then like everything's fine. but because he gets sniped to those Kibo souls and the timing just doesn't work out for him, suddenly he is so far behind, and it's very unfortunate. Because just like game one, this game wasn't that like it was one-sided, but like not like it's not like Acebats got completely run over. It's more they got run over points-wise, but that's just what happens in bingo sometimes. Like you lose one square and the game's over.
Timing is the key word in this game. I think Crabbi has been able to use his time more effectively on the board. His priorities with which squares to take and the amount of time that it would take him to get them has been better. And that's made the difference, where Bats, I feel like, has just spent, a couple of seconds here, a couple of seconds there, too long in a couple of areas. And it just puts him behind the pace, kind of gradually increasing over the course of the entire game. It just makes him fall behind slightly, bit by bit by bit, and then suddenly Crabbi has a huge tempo advantage, and that's what leads to this board control that lets him to do what he wants to do.
Yeah, it's just how it is.
Let's see here. Looks like for the moral victory, Crabbi's going to be able to finish off this board with Unlock Jazz.
Let's go!
Secure the win.
Jazz v Jazz. It's like when I get to do soda unlock soda, you get to do Jazz unlock Jazz. Let's go.
And yeah, we can see Bats now in Dogen working on special, because again, that's another bingo threat that Crabbi has. And the way that this board is going to conclude, the game will be decided before Crabbi gets a bingo, Crabbi has one graffiti, no bingos, and just a lot of other squares. So Bats has done a good job of denying bingos, but in the process of doing that, he's just bled out time, where he's just been unable to amass the points that he's needed to stay in the game.
Yeah, I mean, just having to do RDH graffiti just hurt him so much. There's just like, he has to do it, and there's nothing else he could do. Like, the only thing he could do is like the most like gambit of gambit plays that has like a 5% like success rate. If you happen to snipe Crabbi to like highway 0 graffiti, and then you have to make sure that he doesn't sneakily steal RDH graffiti from you, like, what can you do? It's an unfortunate situation to be in, but I guess Acebats just decided that he doesn't want to get like bingoed on, so I respect it. Just quickly block some bingos and then at least have a moral victory in that sense. Ooh, double frame boost. Gamer.
Yeah, so Crabbi now just about concluding the Jazz race. So this will conclude the game, and that is Crabbi 8-0 game score in the round robin stage. 4 wins, 0 losses in matches, undefeated even in a single game. Huge win, Crabbi.
Huge gaming from the Norgay representative, the winner of the Battle of the North Sea. He did it. He done it. Looking very strong going into the playoff stage. Is gonna get first seed, so he's gonna have the bye into the semifinals, and then he'll play. I think it's NA second seed, or the quarterfinals between the NA second seed and third seed, I think is what it is, or NA second seed and third seed.
Nothing is necessarily confirmed yet, but we've been talking about the idea of having one of the first seeds pick their opponent, rather than just having the winner of a certain quarterfinal play in a certain semifinal. And that actually may be decided by the show match that we're playing tomorrow, since we do have both of our round robin first seeds playing against each other. We're going to have a show match between Crabbi and Yomsa tomorrow.
But then it's not a show match. If it means something, then it's not a show match.
Yeah, I'll talk with them about it if they want that to be the stakes of the match, but just everything kind of fell into place. So that if the winner of that show match wants to have the choice of opponent, that can work. But we'll find something else if not. But yeah, that's coming up. But that concludes the round robin for Crabbi and Bats. We still have one more game in the European round robin between yourself, Nago, and Nastrinus coming up soon, TM.
It'll probably happen probably earlier on in this week. It's a bit unclear currently because I don't think either of us, or Nate doesn't know their schedule yet. So it remains to be seen exactly when that will be played. But it'll be played probably. It'll be played during the week, not in the weekend.
Right. And with this win for Crabbi, this does mean that we still have the potential 3-way tie, I believe, online. If Nay beats Unago, we will have a 3-way tie at 2-2.
And how are you going to resolve that?
Well, I would want to say tiebreakers, but I think I know the actual outcome is is going to be something different. Just don't lose. For the sake of everyone's sanity, just don't lose.
All right.
Okay. So playoffs not quite locked yet, but with that match, final match of the round robin being the final determining factor in who plays who, it all remains to be seen.
Yep. Hello, Acebats.
Hello.
What's poppin', gamer?
Yeah, those games happened. I marked some squares, Crabbi marked some squares. Good luck to Nastranus. That's all I really have to say on that. Nastranus in the playoffs rather than good luck to Nastranus in the next match, but I guess both.
Well, yeah. So this game, or this match between you and Crabbi was interesting because I feel like you played on some of Crabbi's tendencies. Crabbi's a very respectful bingo player, and he always assumes the best of his opponent, and always kind of, what is it that you said, Naga? Catastrophizes it, you know, thinks that the worst possible thing could be happening at any moment, wants to play the safest way possible, and I feel like you kind of played off of that, is particularly in game one, by like withholding information and making it harder for Crabbi to necessarily strategize. You did a pretty good job of denying him bingos as well, like despite the points score
I mostly
of this
just do that because I find it funny. What's this person doing? I have no idea. It's like, no, I'm just in Dogen.
Well, luckily the funny strat's also the good strat, so that's always nice.
Yeah, I think there was definitely some interesting strategy being used there, and you did a good job of denying all of Crabbi's bingos. It was just kind of a matter of tempo, I think, that made the difference in the end in the squares that you were going for. They were just a bit too much of a commitment of time, which allowed Crabbi to get to more places and score more points. Yeah, I think the score is not necessarily representative of what exactly happened in this game.
To represent the score, what's it say? It says I lost, right? That's the key.
Well, yeah, I mean the numbers, you know, the points.
I can't remember what the points were. I was just looking at it and going, God, I wish I remembered the formula for the maximum amount of points before a game is like done. Because I was like, oh fuck, I'm losing, and there's no, you know, I've got to keep playing until I know I've lost. Kind of. That's the big challenge, I think, with playing with someone like Crabbi or even Yomsa, is early games for both of them are kind of, I don't want to say really predictable, but usually you can have a good idea of what they're going to do. So playing to that, the challenge comes, I've grabbed the soul. I've clicked the square. That's not my color. And then going from there. And so it's like, if you play to avoid that, you're playing too defensively and you're kind of on the back foot from what I've gleaned from my experience. But if you try and play more aggressively, then so far, that square always turns the other color. I'm saying I'm going to blame Bingo Sync servers being in to the east and to the west of me simultaneously. So closer to whoever I'm playing against.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good point.
Blame your internet.
Yeah, blame the internet.
Fucking
No, I won't blame the internet, I'll blame the servers. The closer to whoever I'm playing against. Host advantage and all that.
It's still very Anglophobic.
Yeah, if that's a word.
But yeah, you've kind of identified something that I think makes some of our best players quite intimidating to play against, because if you go head-to-head with them, you know, there's a chance that you get sniped. And then if you don't go head-to-head with them, like you said, you feel like you're playing too defensively, you're giving up board control.
I don't even think it's feel like. I think a lot of the time, kind of, there's boards with a very obvious opening play. That's like, this is the good play. That second board was a bit of an iffy one. I was thinking, that was built in such a way where it all kind of looked like crap, no matter which way you went about it. So I was like, okay, that can go a few different ways. But game one, I was like, yeah, there's the obvious opening play. And if you don't go for that obvious opening play, you're kind of conceding that you'll take a less than ideal play and trying to make that work. And I feel like that's just assuming your opponent makes a mistake. This is my take on bingo, obviously, not representative of anyone else's bingo philosophy.
Yeah, but I mean, again, you hit the nail on the head. Everyone has a different approach to the game, and playing against certain players like Crabbi or Yomsa, as you've said, you know, not that they're necessarily predictable, but they're probably going to go for the optimal play at the start of the game, which kind of then puts the pressure on you to find a responsive play that's not necessarily standard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, you know, the board's only so big. So it's,
That's right.
There's usually one kind of, this is where they're going to go. Like fucking, you know, this is what I've got to play against. And then you look at the rest of the board and you're like, huh. Yeah, but that good play they're doing, even if I try and do a disruptive counterplay, can't really disrupt them. It's a challenge and it's very board dependent. But I think it's very rare that you get the opportunity to know what your opponent's going to do and then have an effective counterplay.
Yeah,
Unless
and again,
your
it kind of
opponent
comes back
does something silly.
comes back to what I'd mentioned previously about the way that you played the game, which is with withholding information. Because on the other side of that, if your opponent is trying to read what you're doing and then make a responsive play to that, if you don't tell them what you're doing, they can't do that, and you leave them guessing. Which is just, there was one element.
So
of the
in
play that I
game
really
one,
enjoyed
I
watching.
already knew Crabbi was on a path. I was just like, you know what? At least I can make Crabbi think maybe I'm right behind him, even if I'm nowhere near.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, by putting that fear in him, I think it does change the way that Crabbi in particular plays the game. He's a very respectful bingo player, as we said. So yeah, well, thanks for your insight, Bats. Thanks for playing.
Yeah, it was fun. How many games are left in this? There's just the Nay and Nago, isn't there?
Yeah, so we have our final game of the European round robin coming up, Nago versus Naestrinus, and then we have our playoffs following that.
Yeah.
We have our quarterfinals between the second and third seeds from each of the round robins, and then the winners of those move forward to face the first seeds in the semi-finals for our epic grand final.
I'm
looking
really
forward
excited
to-
to see how Nay does in the playoffs. I'm really excited because I feel like since
I mean,
the
do you
start of the
wanna-
tournament.
Do you want to officially announce that?
I mean, I think it's known that I've dropped out at this point past round robin. Well, I guess anyone in the Discord server knows. So kind of Naestrinus will be taking my place in playoffs. Part of the reason for that is I think Naestrinus will put a much better show on at that point. Because kind of early matches were a bit shaky, but I think Naestrinus has put the time and put the energy in. It's kind of the inverse, where I'm just don't think I've got kind of the energy to do this for the playoffs. So I thought let's put Nay in and kind of make it more exciting.
Mm-hmm. Which does mean this doesn't actually remove the stakes on tomorrow's match. Though with Crabbi's win today, we did mention the possibility of a three-way tie. With Bats withdrawing from the tournament, this means that the winner of tomorrow's, or not tomorrow's, but the winner of the Naestrinus versus Nago match goes through in the group in second seed. The loser goes through in third seed, which may be the difference between playing 7th ace and Ryomi. So
Both fun matches.
there will be stakes in this particular match. So yeah, just regardless of those circumstances occurring, there will still be stakes in the Nago Nation match, which is cool.
I'm definitely looking forward to it. I'm very excited to see Nay play. Honestly, I'm obviously going to be rooting for Nay. So you know.
Yeah,
Yay,
I'm really
France.
excited for playoffs. Just getting to see the two regions clash at last. Yeah, some really
Yeah, I feel like that's
potentially
kind of-
exciting matches.
Almost been a bit missing. It feels like, you know, there's only with the 1v1 format and splitting it off into two regions, it's like, yeah, I've kind of most of the players in the EU bracket, I think for me, I was like, I roughly know where that's going to go. Whereas I feel like a lot of the players in the American bracket, I was like, oh, I would love to kind of play against them in round robin, but obviously scheduling that would have been hell. So no, thank you.
Yeah, and I mean, the scheduling aspect of it also kind of ties into why it would be so appealing to play the American players, is because just even casually, even just playing practice games or just playing, our off time, it's harder to play with the American players just because of time zones. But yeah, hopefully we don't have too many scheduling nightmares in the cross-region matches, and we do get to see some interesting matches.
That'll be for them to resolve,
Yeah.
I'm sure. I mean, the positive about me dropping out at this point is I can focus more on kind of setting up tech and whatnot, so I'm at least available for all the matches going forward, assuming they're not at a stupid time. But if that's a stupid time, then that's the Americans' problem.
All right, well, yeah. Thanks for your insight. Thanks for playing. We will be back tomorrow with a show match between our first seeds out of the groups. Crabbi versus Yomsa. Did we have a time confirmed for that? It says 5 o'clock here. 5 o'clock GMT.
Yeah.
So evening time for everybody over here in Europe, around the middle of the day for the Americans. Crabbi versus Yomsa is going to be really exciting. So
Go
yeah,
Yomsa, you can do it.
thanks for watching, everybody. No bias here. Thanks for watching. We're going to end the stream now. Bye.